can't know everything. Let's be real. Most of the people in the operations and the systems, whether you're in RevOps, sales, growth, marketing, business, strategy, can't know every single thing that's going on. You don't know every cog if it's running or not until there's a big indicator that slows you down or shuts the whole assembly line of your whole business down. And then you get people like me to come in here and say, fix it in 24 hours or less. What's the problem? But most times they can't even tell me what the problem is because they haven't done the work to know how the operations team is running. Yes, you give me the list of job descriptions. Yes, you tell me all the different titles, but what's the flow? You might even give me an org chart. Okay, great. How do we compare that org chart to what's going on in the data with the day to day, the week to week, the month to month, and going towards comparing that to now until year's end? Where are we at? What's the thing that's burning us the most? Burning the most money, the most energy, the most cash flow? Where are we at? What did we try that is working? What did we try that isn't working? What do we have on deck that we're trying to try, but we haven't got to fruition yet? Does that extra campaign, does that even matter right now? Can we just pause and focus on what's working and maybe double down on that until we figure out where our cash flow is going? We put all of our trust and hands in a Hail Mary of a new software and thinking everyone's going to learn it in a 2-week span and that we're just going to get all these growth and conversions. We're going to put all this Hail Mary in a new ad campaign that hasn't even been tested at the local level and we're just going to run it nationally and see what happens. That's stress. That's mismanagement. That's not understanding your why or your team or your situational awareness, and you're not creating a good strategy environment that's going to be successful. And you want the strategy I could be like, hey, fix this in 24 hours. And I'll be like, pause, swerve, let's pause and figure this out. And then I ask the uncomfortable questions. I ask the hard questions and no one can give me an answer. And then it's just crickets. And then it's the blame game. Oh, maybe we need to hire this person. Maybe we need to let go of this person. Maybe we just need to stop, pause, and rethink, reflect. How do we get to this point? I think too much time we'll be focused on finding a solution now without thinking about what led us to get to this point, because this could actually happen again. Y'all putting duct tape and chewing gum on situations that require breaking it apart, identifying all the parts, and putting it back together in a more optimal way that is going to be sustainable. I'm not a viral growth strategist that makes you jump up 5, 10, 100K in a month, a quarter, whatever the ratio of time and range might be, and then it just falls back down. I want to focus on sustainable growth and scalability, because if you can do those two things, everything else is in flow. When you win, people forget about the problems. The championship team may have so much stress, so much struggle, so many obstacles, but when you get that shit, all is forgiven. And let's run it back. Let's do it again. We have to figure out a way to create our teams to get these championships, not just get to the playoffs and lose first round, second round. Even if we get to the finals, that's good, but let's get these championships. Let's focus on that. Let's build a team that's built to get us championships. I don't know about you. I want my business to be a dynasty. I don't want to be a one-hit wonder during the pandemic, and now that the pandemic is slowly fading out and we're slowly having this hybrid and then more in person, less digital, or vice versa, depending on where you are in the world and the spectrum of things, it falls apart. And now they're like, oh, well, you had your moment, your one shining moment, and then poof. That doesn't feel good. So what do? We pull out the feeling, get all the feelings out the way. I want to know the tea. I want all the teams just tell me, just write down a list, just send me voice messages of all the problems. What is the thing that's slowing you from your growth? What is the thing that pains you to do every single day? And what is the one goal you just never can achieve? Maybe it's the wrong goal. Maybe you have someone blocking you from achieving the success you want. You are in too many meetings. You're in the wrong team. You're doing the wrong thing. You're using the wrong software. You're measuring the wrong metric of success. You're pushing your team too hard on one end and not on the other. You're not supporting your team properly. You're not optimizing your team for success. You're not listening to them. You're not checking in on them. They're mentally and emotionally drained. Your sales tactics are outdated. They're not humanized. They're too robotic. It's too much automation centered and not human centric. There's so many variables in play that could be determined to why you're not achieving the growth that you want right now. Sure, there's not enough sales conversations happening right now. Well, that's because marketing isn't posting enough on social media. Tess, let's reduce our social media posting by half and invest that same energy on the sales side and see what happens. Oh no, it's the same. Well, it wasn't social media's teams. There's so many things that people can quickly blame someone else without having a good measure of accountability and removing the silos. I get it, you're in your own little world and you're only focused on people who understand your world, but in the grander scheme of the business world, within your whole business ecosystem, everyone needs to know what the other person is doing on some type of level. You got to be able to speak the same language on some type of level. You got to have some type of code or whatever that brings it all together. And that's where businesses either thrive or they die. Quite frankly, I'm just tired of hearing the same thing across Twitter, LinkedIn, and the DMs and emails and conversations where leaders seem completely oblivious to what's going on in the day-to-day. And maybe those who are dealing with the day-to-day are completely oblivious to what's going on in the grand scheme beyond the business walls. There's no denying that culture impacts everything. Just how the stocks are volatile, businesses are too. And depending on where you are and what you're doing with your life, on top of business and on top of who your audience is to buyers, if those buyers are shook by what's going on externally in the world, whether it's with Russia and Ukraine, whether it's with the stock market, the gas prices, whether it's with the teams that are in the NBA playoffs still right now, you think that might be crazy, but honestly, depending on your business and your product or service, that actually could impact the numbers for the week, for the month, for the year, just because of that. You have to understand what's going on in the world and how that impacts your buyers' decisions. And then what are you going to do to equip your marketing and sales teams accordingly to speak to the pain points, if it's even speaking to the pain points anymore? I said in the previous episode, you're either the Tylenol or you're the chocolate cake. Maybe if the Tylenol ain't working no more, switch to the chocolate cake. Maybe we don't want to hear the negativity of here's everything you're doing wrong in your business and why you're not working versus here's all the things you can experience if you work with us. Perspective.